going to jail! Oh, God!
He'd been waiting for this day like it was his championship parade. That man Charleston said straight up, he never cared if Boosie made it back out the system. And he wasn't bluffing. Cold-blooded words, but that's Charleston for you. He thrives off chaos, feeds off controversy. And this moment right here, this was his Super Bowl. Cameras rolling, eyes glued, and Charleston was loving every second of Boosie's downfall. But here's where it gets messy. Earlier this year, Boosie already told his fans he was tired of fighting case after case, drained by the courtroom circus, and seriously considering a plea deal. Whether he jumped first or the feds cornered him, the outcome was the same. He was trapped in their web. He said he trusted God to carry him through, but you could hear it in his voice. The stress was eating him alive. And don't forget, this wasn't some brand new charge. This same gun case had been dismissed back in 2023, and fans thought Boosie was finally free.
A lot of things this case has stopped me from doing, traveling all across the world, making. So I just want to get it over with, and, you know, I accept my guilty plea, I'm ready to get over with.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Just say a prayer for them. I just need prayer. I don't need nothing else.
Well, Charleston White was celebrating you taking the plea deal. I think he even said he hopes you die in jail and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard.
The biggest thing right now was that you actually accepted a plea deal for your federal gun case.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been fighting this thing from the very, very beginning?
I've been fighting for probably 3 years now, probably.
3 years.
Finally able to focus on his music, his family, and staying out of the drama. But the feds? They don't forget and they don't forgive. By 2024, they circled back like vultures, dusted off the same charge, and slammed an indictment right back in his face. This time, the pressure broke him. Boosie folded, admitting he was done wasting his life and energy in court battles that never ended. He poured it all out on X, writing that, God don't make mistakes, and that he was ready to accept his fate. But this wasn't just another Boosie post. You could feel the exhaustion, the defeat, dripping from every single word. For fans who'd been riding with him since the Baton Rouge grind days, it was a shock. Boosie had always been the survivor, dodging bullets, beating cases, outliving street beefs, even brushing off health scares. But this? 10 years locked away is no slap on the wrist. It's a life-changing hammer blow.
Boosie going to jail! Oh, God! Oh, God is good. I keep telling y'all, street, he got no God. God do not look after street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail for that pistol. I knew he was going. He going to jail. All that newborn baby. Boosie won't get to see that newborn baby till that baby be walking and talking. Boosie going to jail!
The man we saw on social media wasn't the same fiery Boosie who used to clap back at trolls with venom. No, this was someone worn down, almost broken, like the fight had finally drained out of his body. Fans were flooding his mentions with prayers and love, but Charleston White, he was popping champagne like he just hit the jackpot. He went live grinning ear to ear, bragging that he predicted this exact outcome years ago, and now he was celebrating like it was his personal victory parade. And then, Charleston crossed an even darker line, publicly saying he hoped Boosie would never make it back home. That's wild beyond belief, even for Charleston's outrageous standards. But let's be real.
Oh, where the feds picked it up.
Now, it was a state case. The feds came, picked it up. They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor. And the case got dropped by the judge. The case got dropped.
Being reckless, cruel, and louder than everybody else is exactly what keeps his name in the headlines. What makes this whole saga even wilder is that Charleston's beef with Boosie didn't just appear out of nowhere. This has been simmering for years, boiling under the surface like a ticking time bomb. Charleston had been lurking in the background, watching, waiting for Boosie to slip up, and when he saw an opening, he pounced. Their drama actually stretches all the way back to late 2022, when Kanye West sent shockwaves through the culture by stepping out in that infamous White Lives Matter shirt, the moment that split the internet in half. Boosie was one of the first big names to clap back, saying straight up that Kanye was disrespecting black folks. And honestly, most people at the time were nodding along with him. But Charleston, he flipped the entire script. He jumped online with his trademark smirk.
He brought you up because you were attacking Kanye because of the...
Nah, this Kanye West shit just happened. Nigga been coming at me.
he been coming at me. It's just, you know, I can't respond to those people, bro. Like, that's a danger to what I got going on. Can't take no risk of losing this behind, you know.
Blasting Boosie for even daring to speak on Kanye. And from that second on, it was war. Charleston didn't just call Boosie out. He went below the belt in ways nobody saw coming. He started dragging Boosie's son, Tootie Raw, and even T.I.'s son, King Harris, into the mess. He mocked their looks, said they couldn't fight, and even predicted on live streams that both boys would end up in jail one day. That's when the streets realized Charleston wasn't just another loudmouth, clout chaser looking for a viral moment. He was the type to aim at the family tree just to make his insults hit harder. People were stunned, waiting on Boosie to blow up the way he always had before. But surprisingly, he didn't take the bait. Instead of exploding online, Boosie played it cool and strategic. In an interview with Tony the Closer, he calmly explained that running his mouth too much could easily land him behind bars, especially with somebody dragging kids into it. "Knees gon' be bleeding again," he warned cryptically, letting folks know he wasn't falling for Charleston's trap.
I ain't really got no opinion on him, because, you know, my opinion can send me to prison. So I ain't really, you know, I ain't really got no opinion on him, you know, once you go to threaten people's kids, talking about you gotta lie. So, you know, I ain't gonna do all that. I ain't gonna do all that, you know what I'm saying? It's just, hey, you know, certain people you can't really express opinions on, and he one of those. You can't express how you feel because you might end up in prison. And I ain't getting tricked off the streets.
That move showed a whole different side of Boosie. Not scared, but calculated. He knew exactly what Charleston wanted, a big meltdown he could spin into more clout, and he refused to give him the satisfaction. Still, anyone watching could feel the tension simmering like a pot ready to spill over. By early 2023, the fire was back on full blast. Charleston was trolling T.I. heavy over his so-called paperwork party. And that's when Boosie's son Tootie finally snapped. Tootie clapped back online, calling Charleston old and messy, and even telling him to go die, turning a Cold War into an all-out digital street fight. This right here was classic Charleston. He wasn't about to take an insult and just move on. Nah, he cranked the disrespect all the way up. He went live and spat one of the most heartless lines you could imagine. "I hope your daddy died from that diabetes. I hope they forget to send him insulin 1 month. Who even talks like that?" That wasn't trolling anymore. That was venom, pure hate aimed straight at Boosie through his own child. And then, almost like a twisted prophecy, the nightmare got worse. Just weeks later, Tootie Raw actually ended up getting arrested on a gun charge. The moment that news hit the blogs, Charleston was already online clowning. He claimed credit, bragging that he called the police, that he sent in the pictures, and even tipped off the Department of Public Safety. Imagine the audacity. He turned a teenager's legal trouble into a victory lap for himself, bragging like he orchestrated the whole thing. But Charleston didn't stop there. He doubled down with wild, unverified accusations, straight up saying Boosie was a 6-time killer who used kids to do his dirty work. No proof, no evidence, but Charleston screamed it loud enough and often enough for it to echo across the internet. Suddenly, the beef wasn't just petty insults and trolling. It had spilled into real-life consequences. Charleston wasn't just running his mouth anymore. He was actively trying to destroy Boosie's career, his reputation, and even his family ties. And just when fans thought it couldn't get any uglier, 2023 came swinging with another hit. Not even 3 months after Charleston dragged Tootie into the fire, Boosie himself got picked up in San Diego right after walking out of a courtroom. It was like the system had been waiting, watching, ready to snatch him back up the second they got the chance. Charleston wasted no time turning it into his own twisted sermon. He hopped on Instagram Live, pacing like a preacher, declaring this was God's plan.
Oh, just them white folk, Boosie, you done got too much. You done let these niggas play you too mother. This internet book dumb and it. Say what little Tootie gonna do now? What little say? Listen, Vlad TV. Vlad post everybody going to jail but Boosie. Somebody tag Vlad TV.
He even compared Boosie to Daniel in the lion's den, mocking him as if prison was some kind of divine punishment. To Charleston, it wasn't tragedy, it was entertainment. This wasn't just disrespect. It was humiliation on a whole other level. Some fans brushed Charleston off like he was just trolling for clout, while others swore he meant every twisted word. But either way, the damage was done. Charleston had managed to turn Boosie's pain into a sideshow, flipping real struggles into punchlines for his audience. That's his hustle. Feed off chaos, laugh at the hurt, and get paid off controversy. By the time summer rolled around, the trolling had gotten so relentless that even Boosie couldn't keep quiet. He finally broke his silence on Vlad TV, and the frustration was written all over his face. He straight up admitted he didn't even want Vlad giving Charleston a platform, especially after the cruel things Charleston said about his son, Tootie. But once again, Boosie stood firm, saying it wasn't fear holding him back, it was freedom. His mission from day one had been clear.
I'm gonna put your in jail, waiting for the FBI to send me the right kind of number, because I'm finna make a report on your mother to the people. And you make the man call your name specifically. The promoter specifically said your mother ain't Lil Boosie. He implemented you and implicated you. Finna go to jail, back to jail. You gonna be on your knees, but them knees gonna be bleeding again.
Don't let anybody bait him into saying or doing something reckless that could get him locked up for even longer. Still, the tension was impossible to ignore. You could see it in the way Boosie spoke. Charleston was living rent-free in his head. Every time Boosie's name popped up in the headlines, Charleston was right there too, running his mouth, hijacking the narrative, and twisting the story until it looked like he was the one in control. Then came early 2024, when the beef officially jumped from hip-hop blogs into internet culture in the wildest way. Aiden Ross, one of the biggest streamers in the world, had plans to bring Boosie onto his Twitch stream. That should have been a massive moment. Boosie on Twitch, millions of eyeballs, crossover exposure. But Charleston's shadow found its way into that too. Boosie decided to back out, not because he didn't want the shine, but because he didn't want to be tied to Charleston's circus. But then Aiden flipped the script and went online claiming he turned Boosie down out of loyalty to Charleston White. That wild claim spread across social media like wildfire. Suddenly, people were clowning Boosie, acting like he got curved by a streamer, when in reality, he was just trying to avoid Charleston's toxic orbit. The whole situation spiraled so out of control that even DJ Vlad had to step in. Vlad blasted Aiden publicly, saying it was insane to side with a man like Charleston, a man who had literally praised Hitler and denied the Holocaust in the past. It wasn't just messy anymore, it was pure chaos, and Boosie's name was being dragged through it all. Vlad calling Charleston out was a turning point. It showed just how dangerous his influence had really become. He wasn't just some random internet troll anymore. His name was carrying weight, so much weight that young streamers, rappers, and clout chasers were treating him like a golden ticket. People who had nothing to do with Boosie at all were suddenly inserting themselves into the drama, just to scrape up clicks by attaching Charleston's name to theirs. That's how far his reach had spread. He'd gone from being a loudmouth on live to a culture disruptor people couldn't ignore. But Charleston wasn't satisfied with just trending. By March, he was back online stirring the pot even hotter. This time he claimed Boosie was out here warning promoters not to book him. Instead of letting it slide, Charleston twisted it into a full-on rant. He painted it like Boosie was threatening him and bragged that he'd already tipped off the feds about it. He said he had the FBI on speed dial.
I feel, I trust in God, man. This is great. I get
Like they were his personal security guards, ready to snatch Boosie up whenever he made a move. And of course, Charleston couldn't just stop there. He dragged Boosie's health into it too, mocking his diabetes like it was some kind of punchline, cracking cruel jokes about insulin as if life-threatening illness was comedy. That's Charleston's signature move. Go below the belt, make it personal, and keep every camera, every blog, and every fan fixated on him. This wasn't just noise either. The psychological warfare was real. Boosie himself admitted he was getting calls from guys already locked behind bars, taunting him and asking when he was coming to join them. Imagine that, sitting at home already stressing over a looming federal sentence, and your phone lights up with inmates saving you a bunk in advance. That's pressure only a man in the crosshairs could feel. Charleston knew exactly what he was doing. This wasn't just trolling for entertainment anymore. It was a mind game designed to break Boosie down before the prison doors even slammed shut. And here's where the whispers started to spread. People began saying maybe Boosie didn't even want to fight a full trial anymore. Maybe he just wanted the nightmare over with, no matter the cost. And honestly, who could blame him? Just picture the circus if Charleston showed up in court. If there was even the slightest chance he could step into that courtroom, you already know he'd turn it into a full-blown spectacle. He'd point fingers, clown the jury, crack jokes about Boosie in front of cameras, then sprint outside and run straight to the blog screaming, "I helped put Boosie away." That's not exaggeration. That's literally Charleston's whole playbook. He brags openly about calling the cops, setting people up, and even boasts about testifying as a teenager. That piece of his history keeps coming back to haunt him. When he was just 14, he was part of a robbery where another teen shot a man named Michael Levy. Instead of keeping quiet, Charleston testified against his co-defendant, Antoine Doolittle. In street culture, that's the ultimate betrayal. Being branded a snitch is a stain you never wipe off. But Charleston? He doesn't hide from it. He wears it like a badge, twisting it into part of his larger-than-life story. Charleston actually defends it. He looks straight into the camera and says, "I was young, I was in court. I told the truth. That's not snitching, that's survival." Recently, footage from that old juvenile case resurfaced, and just like that, the internet lit up again. People were calling him a hypocrite, dragging him left and right. They asked, "How can you clown rappers for being rats when you testified yourself?" But Charleston didn't back down. He doubled down, shrugging like he'd been waiting for this moment. He said he never lived by the so-called street code anyway, and he couldn't care less who's mad about it. And that right there is Charleston's dangerous advantage. He's untouchable in his own twisted way, because he's not even playing by the same rulebook as everyone else. He'll call you a rat while proudly waving around his own paperwork like a trophy. The contradiction is outrageous, but that's exactly what keeps people glued to his every word. Even if they hate him, even if they're disgusted, they can't look away. So when you put all the pieces together, Boosie's looming plea deal, his drained and tired demeanor, the endless internet chatter, and Charleston's circus always circling overhead, it suddenly makes sense why Boosie wanted to skip trial and just take the deal. The last thing he needed was to be trapped in a courtroom while Charleston strutted around, turning federal proceedings into a live performance for clicks. Boosie wasn't just running from the law. He was running from the chaos Charleston was ready to unleash, and that's what makes this feud way deeper than just trolling.
Not a street kid. I'm not a criminal. I'm a kid who was raised to tell the truth. When my mama come in and say, "Son, what happened?" "Mama, I didn't do that." I got to pay for a lawyer. I got 2 lawyers, Carl Mallory and Louis Stearns. Louis Stearns became Judge Stearns, Judge Louis Stearns. But nigga, I had 2 paid for lawyers. My mama is a well-to-do mama. I'm just playing, I ain't playing. I'm an adolescent going through an adolescent stage of rebelliousness. I ain't no street. Hell yeah, I'm gonna tell on you. I've been telling since I was a little bitty boy.
This isn't playful banter, it's personal, it's messy, it's psychological warfare, and it's costing Boosie his peace of mind. Right now, his whole world feels like it's dangling by a thin thread, and Charleston White is treating it like he bought front row seats to a comedy show. The second word broke that Boosie was leaning on that plea deal, Charleston popped online louder than ever, practically screaming victory chants. To him, this wasn't just another rapper slipping up. This was karma in its purest form. He went live bragging that everything he'd been predicting for years was finally happening. All the trolling, all the insults, all the times he swore Boosie would crash out. In Charleston's eyes, this plea deal was the ultimate stamp of validation. Charleston acted like the streets had just handed him a championship trophy for being right all along. That's why his celebration cut so deep. Boosie hadn't even fully processed his own reality yet, and here comes Charleston, dancing on his downfall like it was a block party. He even admitted out loud that he'd been waiting for this exact moment, almost like he'd been praying for Boosie to end up behind bars again. Who does that? That's not trolling anymore, that's obsession. And that's what makes this beef different from all the rest. This isn't clout chasing. This isn't just going viral for laughs. This is personal. Charleston has had Boosie locked in his sights since 2022. And every time something went wrong, he popped up right on cue to pour salt in the wound. From clowning Tootie's arrest, to mocking Boosie's health, to bragging about calling the feds on him, it's like Charleston won't stop until Boosie is completely erased from the picture. But the streets? They're divided. Some folks say Boosie brought it on himself. They point out how he's been dodging charges for years, disrespecting people online and living reckless. To that crowd, Charleston isn't wrong. He's just saying out loud what a lot of others have been whispering. In their eyes, the feds were bound to box him in eventually, and Charleston's just laughing at the inevitable. On the other side, though, are the diehards who ride with Boosie heavy. They see him as a survivor, a man who's been through hell and back, stared down the system, and still managed to keep grinding. To them, Charleston doesn't look like a truth teller. He looks like a hater, obsessed with tearing another black man down for clicks and clout. And that debate has become its own storm, buzzing in barbershops, firing up on podcasts, and lighting up comment sections everywhere. But one thing's for sure, If Charleston is this loud while Boosie is still technically free, just imagine the circus if the judge actually slams him with a 10-year sentence. Charleston will treat it like his own personal victory parade, streaming live on every platform, shouting like he won the war, maybe even popping bottles on camera just to rub it in Boosie's face. And here's the chilling part. He probably won't stop there. Charleston thrives on pain. The louder the reaction, the more fuel he gets. The cycle keeps feeding itself, and every time Boosie suffers, Charleston gets bigger, louder, and bolder. That's the twisted ecosystem they've created.
He pulled the hammer back on the gun.
Meanwhile, Boosie is left trying to lean on faith. His posts about trusting God don't sound like the cocky, untouchable Boosie fans grew up with. They sound like the words of a man bracing for the worst. And when you've got Charleston in your ear, the feds breathing down your neck, and the internet split between mocking you and praying for you, where do you even find peace? This ain't just about prison time anymore. This is about legacy, about whether Boosie can bounce back stronger, or if Charleston White's voice will forever echo over his career like a curse. To put it plain, this is one of the wildest beefs hip-hop has ever seen. Because it's not built on records, not built on street corners, not even built on money. It's built on humiliation, and humiliation cuts deeper than any bullet or bar. Charleston White has made it his life's mission to publicly humiliate Boosie at every turn. And now, with the threat of a whole decade behind bars hanging over his head, Charleston is strutting around like he's the undisputed king of the internet. But here's the twist nobody's talking about. If Boosie really does get locked up, Charleston's little victory dance might backfire in a way he never saw coming. Why? Because history has shown us something wild. Prison can be a strange kind of reset button for rappers. Think about it. Time and time again, the system has snatched rappers off the streets, only for them to come back hungrier, sharper, and bigger than ever. If Boosie serves that time and comes home stronger, wiser, and ready to reclaim his crown, Charleston's celebrations are going to look like pure clown behavior in hindsight. But for now, it's all a waiting game. Boosie's plea deal is on the table. His future is dangling in the balance. The streets are buzzing. And Charleston is circling overhead like a vulture, waiting to feast on whatever's left of his reputation. And this isn't just another gossip headline. This is a saga testing loyalty, exposing fake friends, and revealing exactly who's rooting for Boosie's downfall. The masks are slipping and the culture is taking notes. No matter what side people stand on, one thing's clear. The spotlight has never been hotter. And the outcome of this story is about to send shockwaves through hip-hop for years to come. So the only question left is this. Will Boosie rise again from the ashes like a phoenix, proving Charleston wrong? Or will Charleston White finally get the last laugh and turn Boosie's legacy into his personal punchline? The answer is coming real soon, and the entire world is watching.